Alright, y'all. I got a confession to make. I have said in the past that I have not been the biggest fan of sentries, and I gotta tell you, I have found the Church of Turrets, and I have been baptized. Now, I really thought I was gonna have to make a new category for builds, and I was gonna have to make a meme category. Turns out, no. Instead, I should probably make an S tier plus category, because this build fucking rocks, and I'm talking about on tier 10 as well. Now, before we get into the build, you know, if you guys like Helldivers 2 content, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe and like button. It helps out a lot. And let's get into the build. Is Lady gonna sit here in my lap for the entire video? Well, we're gonna try. We're gonna try real hard. Isn't that right, good girl? Okay, let's do this. Now, as I said a second ago, I was gonna put this in a meme category, but it turns out it's more like a jack of all trades. So let's get into the loadout. Let's get into the equipment first, and we can just get through it real quick. First up, we got two options here. We need medium penetration, and having stagger would actually really help out a lot. You'll see why later on. So I go with the slugger, or I go with the adjudicator. Both these perform pretty well. Slugger I like a little bit better for the bots. That's not true. Slugger I actually like a little bit better for the Terminids, and it's the adjudicator that I like better for the bots. So that's what you're going to see in the background. That's what you're going to see me using. Now for secondary, we're going to go with the grenade pistol. This helps us out with bug holes and fabricators. You know, I never like to leave you guys hanging on that one. And then stun grenades. Stun grenades are super important for this build. So that means we're also bringing the engineering kit. Now you guys might be thinking, dude, you do use engineering kits a lot. And I do, you're right. But also look at this, you know, armor style I got going on here. I got like Resident Evil 2 Hunk look going on. And that's usually why I use it. If you don't know who Hunk is, I don't know what to tell you. Moving on. She's getting fussy. She's getting real fussy. She's getting to a fussy girl. No, baby. Good job. You're doing so good. You're doing so good. All right, it's real easy to figure out which stratagems we're going to be going with here. We're going to be going with the Gatling sentry, and we're going to be going with the machine gun sentry. That's the 1 and 2 slot. And those both kind of do the same thing, where they are just purely chaff clear, and they clean up really well. Cooldown actually isn't that bad. Now for the 3 and 4 slot, we want the autocannon, and we want the rocket sentry. These two sentries, these are our heavy and massive enemy killers, and they do a damn good job at it. Now, the way I like to play with this is I like to throw down one of the ones that are good with chaff clear, and then I like to throw down the autocannon or the rocket, depending on, you know, what enemy types I see. If you see a massive, definitely go with the rocket one instead, but you want to kind of pair them off that way. So you have one chaff clear and then one heavy massive damage type, and that way you just cover all your bases. So the way you want to play this build is you want to set up basically a kill box. You want to make sure you have plenty of distance, and you also want to make sure you have like almost like a clean field of view, so your sentries aren't getting blocked by rocks or trees or something like that. So it's actually really helpful to set up a defensive line or something like that, and then go bait some patrols or breaches or something like that to come to your position, and then really let the turrets do all the work for you. Now, where your primary comes in handy is when things get too close. And then stun grenades are mainly, I would save those for the heavy units. So I'm talking about the Chargers and the Hulks. You are, okay. She's had enough. Goodbye. I love you. We love you. Actually, she probably has to go outside, so I'll be right back. And we're back with the happy girl, isn't that right? Yeah, that's right. Now, before I was rudely interrupted by Lady, let's get back on track. Let's go through the chart, actually. This is a good part for it. Now, first off, we'll go with the bugs. The bugs, this sentries just do so good against the bugs. It's not even fair for them, honestly. When you see a charger, just make sure to stun lock it. Make sure you got your autocannon down or rocket sentry to take care of it. Bile Titan, make sure to prioritize that rocket sentry. But everything else, this shreds through. Anything gets close, you use your slugger to stun them, keep them in place. If you don't have your sentries up, this also counts for the bots too. If you don't have your sentries up, you're going to have to probably give a little ground. You know, you're probably going to have to really stick towards your squad and rely on their stratagems until yours get up and going again. But once you're up and going, you dominate sections of the map with this build. So just know that there is that trade-off. And also keep in mind, with the sentries, they will friendly fire your ass. So make sure you're placing them a little bit, you know, intelligently. You know, you just don't want to be throwing them down anywhere. So that's why I always say, like, have a clear line of sight, have a clear, like, make sure you have like a clear battle line you're trying to draw. And it's just not like, don't throw them into chaos, because also these things are pretty fragile. They will get destroyed easily. So that's why you just don't just throw them down willy-nilly. You kind of got a plan for them. Now for the bots, basically everything I just said there applies to them as well. For its massive unit, the factory strider, Make sure you have your rocket sentry up for that. The autocannon actually does pretty well against that one too. I wouldn't count on that one being as effective, say, like against the Bile Titan, the sentries, but they get the job done. They do pretty good. But given that the bots have guns, you know, they're going to be trading fire with the sentry, so they're going to be a little bit more fragile. But again, throwing lots of stun grenades, keep everything locked down, and the sentries just do all the work. So that might be considered a weakness too with this, is the fact that you do just throw these fuckers down and they do all the work for you. So you just kind of like sit back and babysit a little bit. It's a little bit of a different play style because you're not actively going out, you know, and throwing down like an Eagle Airstrike or something like that. You're being more reactive and defensive. And I don't know about you guys, but it kind of brings me back to like StarCraft days where you like, you know, if you're a Terran player, I'm a Terran player, obviously. Brings me back to those days with like siege tanks where it's more about positioning and being defensive and just letting them just destroy things. But if you try to like siege up while you're like attacking or being overrun, they're fucking piss useless, you know? So it's kind of like similar to that. Now, obviously, if you are in a evacuation or a eradicate mission, I would trade out the machine gun sentry for a mortar. Mortars are super strong in those missions where nothing's getting behind you. Because my problem when you're in the open field, those 40-minute missions, and you have a mortar, you'll have one trooper or something slip up right next to you, and your mortar doesn't give a shit. Your mortar's going to get the job done. Unfortunately, it doesn't care about you, so it's going to kill your ass too. And I've just been bombarded way too many times by a mortar. I'm like, all right, I don't want to use this thing anymore. So that one I kind of caution against. That's why I didn't really put it in the first lineup. But I would definitely use it on those defensive missions, and you know, it's still viable, you know, in those 40-minute missions too. So just keep that in mind. I think all the sentries are pretty damn good. I don't think any of them are like dog shit. So really, you can just mix and match. Just like that's the way I was mixing and matching them. Is like, you know, chaff clear and then have one that does a heavy and massive damage. And as you can see, I'll bring up two charts here, or two score screens here, where against the bots and the Terminids, where I slayed out and I was completely blown away. I was like, holy shit! Because once you get these things going, your kill count just goes up and up and up and up and up until everything's dead. Gatling turret does run out of ammo pretty quick compared to the machine gun. But it's just a little bit of a trade-off. Again, once one goes out, once one runs out of ammo, you just throw down the other one, and then it just keeps on slaying out. And this will basically handle those big bug breaches or something like that. And I almost forgot. Here's a little bonus about this build. It adds in a almost because we're not using a stratagem weapon. You know, when you're going around and looting in maps, you know, you see like, you know, a rail cannon or a railgun and like a machine gun just laying around. Since you don't have a stratagem weapon, you just pick those up and you use that as your, like, you know, that just extra helps you out, you know, this build. So it adds almost like a survival, you know, looting aspect to the game. And I can't explain it, but like it just adds like almost like a little bit of like excitement to like the gameplay that I don't think any other, you know, loadout I've done so far has. You know, got that scavenging element. So that's definitely something of note. So yeah, when you do run this, you're gonna have, you know, no stratagem weapon. So going out there and actually looking at each point of interest and searching for a weapon is kind of fun. Or I guess you could just, you know, wait till one of your teammates dies and, you know, bum off theirs, but that's not the point. Anyways, I thought that was like a little bonus with this build, something worth noting. So that's my sentry turret loadout. It's really effective. I was really surprised by it, especially with the auto cannon sentry. That thing is really good. It kind of feels better than our weapon auto cannon that we get. I think it does a little bit more damage, and it hurts Bile Titans all over the place instead of just the sack, which is what the stratagem weapon that we get, the auto cannon version. But really solid build. This is S tier. I mean, I didn't think this was, I was going to bring this into like tier 8 or 9 and test it out, but I thought, fuck it, let's just try it in tier 10. And again, I showed you my stats earlier. It performs really, really well. So a little bit of a different playstyle, you know. I know that could be a little bit of an adjustment, but give it a try. It's a lot of fun. I think next up we're going to be doing a tier list of the auto rifles or the assault rifles and the SMGs. And after that, we'll just keep chugging on with more loadouts, more builds, and eventually I'll get all my, you know, all the weapons into a tier list. So then we can have like a master tier list for when we get a next balance patch. So until then, Helldivers, peace.